Hello again, my fourth grade friends, and we're here today to continue to talk about how the Earth's surface can be changed, and today we will talk about how living things change the land. Organisms or living things can change the shape of the land. Over time, plants, animals, and other kinds of organisms can break rocks into smaller pieces and move them from one place to another. So let's first start by thinking about the word organisms, and as it says right here in the text, an organism is a living thing. It's that simple. Any living thing is an organism. There are two specific kinds of organisms that we're going to talk about today, and those are plants and animals. And these two types of organisms can be responsible for weathering and erosion and deposition of the Earth's surface, because they can break rocks into smaller pieces, which would be your weathering, and move them from one place to another, which would be your erosion and deposition. So let's look specifically about how this can happen. It says some organisms move rocks and sediment to new places, which of course we know is erosion and deposition. The roots of most plants grow in soil. As they grow, they push the particles of soil aside. Okay, so that right there is one way that plants can change the earth. As they're growing, they can weather rocks because, like we saw in that last lesson, there was that tree kind of growing up through the rocks. When that happens, and we'll talk about this picture in a few minutes that also shows that, as the roots of a new plant grow, the roots get bigger, okay? So when that happens in the soil gets moved around. It's not in the same place it was before, therefore it changes the land a little bit, okay? I'm actually going to skip to this picture next, and we're going to talk more about this since we're on the subject of plants. So I'm going to click on this one, and it says, the roots of a plant can grow in the cracks of rocks. This is what we saw in the lesson yesterday. As the roots of this tree became larger, they broke the rock apart. So at one point, this was one solid rock, and somehow a tree started to grow there. When the tree grew, the roots broke into the rock, and as they got larger, just like the water and the ice that we talked about in the last lesson, as the roots grew larger, they broke the rock apart, okay? And that's how the tree, you can see the trunk growing up through the middle, okay? That's how this tree, this living thing, this plant, changed the land. One thing I want to point out to you is on this rock right here, you can see things called lichen. You see like the yellow and the greenish and the grayish things there? Those are called lichen. They are living things, and they have things that are similar to roots on them, and they can also grow in the cracks of rocks and cause the rocks to break into smaller pieces. So even though it might look like this isn't anything here, this that's covering the rock is actually a living thing called lichen, and it's actually, as it's growing, can also break the rock into smaller pieces. Okay, now let's see how animals can change the land. Animals such as moles, gophers, worms, and many kinds of insects burrow into the ground. Now burrow means to like dig. That's what you kind of see in the picture right here. So they dig into the ground, they dig through the ground. To make their burrows, they move particles of soil. A large animal such as a woodchuck can even move rocks. So you can see this animal right here, which we see from the caption is a meerkat. It says meerkats are excellent diggers, often making huge underground burrows. This meerkat is digging for insects in the Kalahari Desert of South Africa. So basically, whatever the reason, whether they're trying to dig a burrow for travel or to find food, when animals dig like this, they are changing the earth. You can kind of see a hole developing here. That hole wasn't there before the animal got there. So as the animal is digging, it's moving the soil, that's erosion, and when the soil kind of rests wherever the animal's throwing it, that's going to be some deposition there, okay? And most small animals can only do sediment or small particles of soil, but some animals, like a woodchuck, can even move bigger pieces of rock if they're strong enough to do that, okay? So that's basically it for our lesson today. It was a short lesson, so let me just reiterate a couple things with you that are going to be the important points moving forward. An organism is a living thing, and plants and animals are two examples of organisms. Plants can change the land in two ways. First, As they grow into soil, as the roots grow and they push the soil aside, that is changing the land. Also, if a plant were to start to grow in a rock, as the roots grew bigger, the rock could, over time, break into smaller pieces or break apart. Animals can also change the land by burrowing into the ground, and this would be your erosion and deposition. Okay, plants are more responsible for weathering, and then the animals are more responsible for for erosion and deposition, sorry. Okay, and they do that by digging in the ground and moving the soil or dirt or rocks from one place to another. Okay, and those are the different ways that living things can change the land. Good luck on your fill in the blanks and in Time to Climb, and I can't wait to see your answers to our open-ended questions for today. I think they're a little on the easy side, so I think you'll really enjoy them. Good luck, everybody.